Hey, welcome. Good to see you again. So, we're still looking at that additive run stop. No, sprint stop. Sprint transition to run, that additive that sits on top of it. So we did two versions. Um, no, we did one version. This is going to be our second version. I've just woke up, had my coffee. Oh, nice and hot. Okay, so what I wanted to show is another method I've been thinking about. I haven't actually tried this. I think it might be a good example for you guys to see and see if we succeed or fail with that. And so let's just get started. What we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect our additive sprint stop additive animation. We're gonna come to our sprint state and we're just gonna hook up our cache pose. And then what we're gonna do, we are going to come over here and we're gonna play. Oh, let's go back one. Let's get out of this. Um, We're going to choose our instance and then our animation will play right here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hit this record button right here, right before we start actually moving around. Because we want to record um, basically the sprint animation transitioning in real time to the run animation. And we actually want to get that information from gameplays to know how it is actually playing. And then we can work on top of that animation. So what this should do is spit out a animation sequence that we can use in our sequencer control break file. So let's give it a shot. We're gonna play. Here we are, there's our scene. I'm gonna move over here, get our character, hit record. We're gonna save it. Just keep saving it to our same place. Locomotion, unarmed. Actually, I have an additives folder for locomotions. There we go. We're gonna say best, and we're gonna drop this down to 24. And I think that's good. Test, sprint, I can spell, sprint, stop. Actually, this is gonna be a sprint to run transition. There we are. All right, let's go back to our game, our recording. We're going to move and sprint, and then we're going to stop sprinting, but still run. Then we'll stop. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, because we're not leaving that state. Okay, then we'll stop. Okie dokie, because there's no animation that tells us to get out of that state once we're in it. So we'll stop this and we'll just hook everything back up. And we'll compile. Actually, what I like to do sometimes is when I don't want to keep a change, I'll go down here to our revision control. And there's actually, we can click here. And it's like every window, I think, has a revision control, view changes. We can look at our unsaved and we can just trash any modifications. And then it'll revert the file back to how it was. Of course, this means that I'm reopening the file, which is something that I've been wanting to not do because this file takes forever to open. Um, so it's fixing up references. So we're going to sit here. But let's talk through what I'm thinking with this animation. So we'll look at this animation and see what it gave us. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut it up and delete the sections that we don't want. Then we're going to bring that animation into sequencer and bake it down to a control rig. And that way we can put a layer on top of it to start doing an additive animation modifications on it. And that's where we'll do our sprint to stop, sprints to run transition. Where did I save that file? I guess it was additives, locomotion. There it is. We're going to open that up and see what we got. I'm actually kind of curious if it does, for whatever reason, use root motion. No. So that's the one thing here that's different than the take recorder, is that when you record here, unless there's something I don't know about it, it doesn't record root motion. So everything will be in place, and that's okay, especially for our additive here. But you can see that we're standing there, and then we have our start move, and then our sprint to our run to sprint, and then we have that section right there where we have our sprint to run. That's what we want right there. And then we have our LARPing stop. Okay, so we're going to be in full run. We've got our LARPing stop right there, so we'll delete everything after. So we right click on the timeline, remove from 306 to 466, and then, okay, so just about right here, we are still in our sprint, and we're going to remove everything before that, so that's 0 to 185. That way we have just less to work with there. And we can call that down in sequencer. So let's go to our sequencer file. We're going to keep working in the same file that we've been using. We're going to bring in one of our other characters that we have. We're going to bring in our animation transition, and we're going to change the timeline, and we're going to mute this guy so we don't see him. Okay, there we go. Actually, I don't really like to mute too much. I'm just going to hide. There we go. Hide this stuff too. Hide these, just throw those in there. I like to create folders to help organize things. Alrighty, there we are. Cool. So we're sprinting, and then you can see that we're starting to go to run. So we're going to bake this down to our control rig here. And then we can trash that animation. Then let's look at the our body control right there. On our sequencer, that we can see like when it starts rotating. Let's look at our, go ahead and bring up our layers panel. Body control, that's the wrong rig. So you can see that here, I've got both rigs in there. We got SKM HD Sprint, and then we got Hero Girl SKM. So that's the one we want. So we're on our body control. We go to anim details. We're looking at, what's this? Oops. We're looking at our X rotation. So that's this one right here. So we're kind of puttering along there in our cycle. And then you can see where the change starts to take place, which is probably around frame 12. Start rotating up. And then when we hit this cycle, which is about right here on 49, that's how long that transition takes. So I'm going to delete everything before frame 12 and then after frame 9. So we're going to just trash this. So when you come to the sequencer window and you select these keys, that's everything. That's all keys on this control rig that we're deleting here. So after 49, select this and delete it. Zoom out and delete. Then we'll change our timing, and then we'll set our end time. Here we are. This is going to be what we're working on right here. So we'll want to transition an additive animation on top of this. So what we'll do is we'll take just the keys, curves that we'll probably be working with the most. Just thinking through, we want our body control, our spine control, and our head control. And I think those are the only ones I've really been using. So we come here, we're going to add a new layer, but we're going to select those controls again. That way they get plopped into the layer. And we're going to call this front top transition add. That way we don't get confused between these two layers. We're going to set a key there, and then we're going to set a key, whoops, guess I select objects, set key, set key. So now we have a key at the beginning and the end. So we do want to return this back to 0, just like we would in our normal additive. So we're going to start at 0, we're going to make some changes, and then we're going to end at 0. Remember, what we wanted to do was kind of put the brakes, pump the brakes on. What I have in my head is kind of like you're on a horse and you're like, whoa! So you're kind of just saying whoa to slow down. And then what if we set a key here? Oh, we right click, say set a pass through key. That should get it back to 0. I think. Let me make sure that's true. If we set a pass through key here. Yes. Okay, that's essentially just setting a 0 key, or it should be. Yes. Okay. So we're hitting the brakes. We wanted to hold that. I think we were holding it for some time, so just copy that key and hold it. And then we'll have a slow transition. I think our animation was 24 frames, so originally. But it looks like it takes a full 37 frames to transition. What's that? A second and a half? What is that? 37 divided by 24? A little over half a second. 1.5 seconds. Okay. So we do want to see this in action here in how it manipulates things. So what I'm going to try to do, if I turn off the base layer, or like that, okay. Then if I add another layer, what if I can change the order of these layers? Guess not. So if I take all these keys and add a new layer, I'm going to come here. Maybe can I change the order here? No. Oh, can't move up, down. That's too bad. Okay, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start over. I'm going to delete this layer. So what I'm trying to do is get a layer that kind of zeroes out everything. I'm going to switch this to an override layer. Select objects. I'll set a key. And I wonder if we try to just zero everything out except for the. Oh, my machine did not like that. Oh, I guess it was still setting a key there. Okay, so everything's zeroed out. If I mute this layer, I mean, everything's not zeroed out. It's just an override layer. So let's bring this one back on so that we don't have animation. What I want is to try to get these to 0. So let's see what happens here and here. And then let's say select these and 0 them out. Just selecting a little bit at a time because it seems to kind of chug on my machine. Oh, that one didn't like that. 0, 0, 0. Nope, it's not liking that. Okay, that worked. This is not a great process. Hitting those reset to default buttons, they're nice to have, when they work. 0, 0, 0. Guess we're scaling those. No, why? In Maya, I think there's a way to separate out the channels that you're seeing. So you have, like, you could just look at loco, or just look at rotation, or just look at scale, or say just remove scale, because that's the one I don't want to see right now. We're on the transition. I don't know why. Oh, transform. I went here, base layer. Is there any way to filter out what I'm seeing? Maybe here? No. Maybe we don't find it. So yeah, that'd be nice to be able to say only show locomotion. I mean, only show location keys or curves. I guess it would be under here. Rotation. Can I spell? Nope. No, too bad. Okay, so let's just keep going. See how far we get. Zero this out. Zero that out. Zero that out. Zero that one out. Oh, there is some scale on here. Weird. 0, 0, 0. Okay, almost there. Sort of, almost. It's kind of a boring process. Maybe there's a way, but I don't know it. Oh, that was scaled too? I don't know why that one would be scaled. This one's scaled. Interesting. I wonder why these are scaled. Okay, let's come here. We do two at a time. Okay, so this isn't the best process right now. Just trying to do this to zero that out. I think in Maya, if you create an override layer, it automatically like resets all the keys to its rig pose. So it just zeroes everything out. And then if you want to pull in some of the other layers, you can hit that pass through key button, and then it'll paste that pose from another layer on top of your override layer. So that's nice. But it doesn't look like I've got that here. Add selected, duplicate. No. Definitely want that as an option. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so let's keep going. Mainly what I'm trying to do is get essentially a rig pose on here. That way I can animate I can turn this layer off, and I can animate on top of the other layer, which would be our new layer that we had here for a second ago, but we deleted it, but we'd recreate it because we didn't get too far. We'd animate there, and then we would the setting to 0. And then on export, we would turn on this layer so that that layer that we did the additive animation on is working from the rig pose, just like our other additive animation that we did to work from the rig pose. That way we can see kind of how much is actually changing. So it's kind of, I would hope that it's almost getting like the best of both worlds, where you can see your animation additively as you're creating it on top of how it's actually going to be used in the game. And then we can export it out with our rig pose. to see it in a neutral setting and have that comparison. But we'll see that looks good. Okay, that wasn't the worst. Wasn't the best. Okay, so now we have that. We're going to call this our rename the rig pose. And then now we're going to create a new layer here, here, and here. Okay, there we go. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to call that sprint stop transition add. And then now we can select those objects, hit a key, and hit a key, and we can do our animation we were planning. So let's save, because Unreal wants to crash every now and then, and if you don't save it, then we'll lose all our work. So we're going to start here and forward a little bit. Let's move this over here, and then we're going to hit the brakes. We're going to say, whoa, horsies. Then we'll set another key here. Let's say that's how long we're holding it. Let's say back here. And then we're going back to 0 kind of slowly. Okay. This here. So we're hitting those brakes. Okay, and we're doing that on the rig pose, and we'll pause the rig pose. Okay, there we go. Now we can kind of see how, when I was animating on the rig pose before with our other animations, if we unhide our other character, our sprints, and then we turn on our sprint stop and turn off our face animation. We can see what that was looking like on the rig pose. And then, excuse me, what we can do here is we can take that animation and turn on the rig pose. There we are. And then kind of see how we're comparing there. But what I'm going to do, see about taking this animation here, here, and here. Oh, let's come to that layer first. So we come here, and we're just going to copy that animation over just to kind of speed things up. Here, here. We're going to select and copy. We're going to go to this layer. We're going to select here, here, here. And before we do anything, we're just going to save it. I'm going to delete these keys. We're going to paste. And cool. And we're going to come back to this rig pose layer. We are going to set some keys here. We're going to allow for stretching and some soft IK too. Key. I don't know if those will keep. Maybe, maybe not. Select objects. Okay, deselect. Select this one. Set a key. Key. 2. Oh, no, key, please. There it goes. Huh, weird. Whenever I set a key here, it undoes that key on the stretch. That's weird. Okay, let's see what happens. Like it's stretching now. So it does keep it, but if you set that softness key, oh, it didn't keep it. Look at that. I don't know why not. It doesn't seem to have kept it. Let's select here. Oh, there's no key there at all. It's like it's not there. That's weird. I wonder why not. I'm not gonna go look for that now. It seems to be behaving the way I want. Am I missing something? Did I miss? Thing seems a little off. Maybe it's how the head is working. Oh, that's the IK spine versus the FK spine. Okay, that's okay. Um, so we'll hide this for now. The old transition. But I mean, that's pretty cool. I can just copy keys from one animation to another and get going. So there we are. That's probably what we're going to be seeing in game. So let's make some changes here. Because that might be, say, too far back, too far down. We don't want to do that. Let's come here. We'll rotate back a little bit more. Let's get a nice pose set here. Make sure that we're rotating this spine back more. Oops, I don't think this spine is in there. Let's add that. Then set that as a key. There we are. Okay, so we should have some keys set on that controller there. Okay, good. We're moving backward like this, and back like that. We're going to keep that head down a bit here too. So what we'll do, select objects, and we'll use our tween tool, kind of push towards where we want to be. Then see how that looks. Probably don't want this one here. Let's delete that. That feels a little better. So what does it look like on the rig pose? So much different than what we had. Like it's it's like an animation you would never create. But it's important to see that and know like how it might actually change. Put this here. Rotate it back just a little bit more. Keep these guys down. See how that looks. Back at our rig pose. Yeah, I would never animate that. Okay, let's get this exported out and check it out in the game. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to save it out over this one so I don't have to update the ABP. That's this one there. What we're going to do is just duplicate that so we have our old version. I like to call this OG for original original gangster. Let's save this out or take it out from repos. Bake animation, anims, additives, locomotion, save over, export. And maybe one thing I want to do is keep it at that 24. So let's do that one more time. Bake, anims, additives, locomotion, boom, 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 boom. Okay, now let's play. Sprinting. Oh, I definitely feel that a lot more. Let's see how that looks. Where are we? Looking for my, there it is. We can check this character out. Look at it here. Look at this. So we're going to sprint. Look at it from the side over here on our left video. Oh yeah. And we'll bring in our OG one. We'll duplicate that. Control D. Bring in the OG one there. Compile. And that's another reason to duplicate it, so that way you can test against it. Oh, whoops. I'm in sprint start. Let's come here to sprint stop. That might be more effective. Okay, so let's come here, compile, play, sprinting, stop sprinting. Yeah, it's quite a bit different. Okay, then compile. I think this way you actually get a result that's a little bit more accurate because you're seeing your additive changes go on top of your animation, your actual animation, how it's used in the game. So I'd probably make a few more changes here to the arms, but I think that's a very viable method to use in this circumstance. And hopefully you can think of other methods to use too. But I think we'll stop it here for today. I won't take this animation to completion, um, but hopefully that gives you a general idea about how you may want to go about creating some of these animations and how you can use the engine as a really great tool to do a lot for you in ways that, say, it might be hard to create that sprint additive animation on top of, say, a sprint transition from running to sprinting or sprinting to running in Maya or something like that. So yeah, really great tools here. And that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks. Happy animating out there.